is October 7th at about 10:30 a.m. I'm waiting for my waffles to cook. They're in there. And this is my first reading diary kind of entry. Not just it's mainly so I can keep up with myself, because I read a lot of things and I want to read a lot of things, and then I don't remember what's going on. So now I'm doing this. It should be fun. And also now I get to talk about books. So first part, what am I currently reading? So right now I'm reading The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Oh, I need to rotate my waffles. Okay. I'm trying to finish this before my waffles are done. That probably won't happen. Don't bookmark that. Okay. As I was saying, I'm currently reading The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I started, honestly, like 8 or 9 days ago. So, the end of September, like September 30th. And I'm still only on page 63. Okay, I'm reading a little bit slow. I'm 11% of the way through. This is a 573-page book that's supposed to take 14 hours and 10 minutes to read. Chapter 1 ended on like page 46. So, yeah. And honestly, it's because I knew that going in that I was super apprehensive to read this book at first. It's just kind of sort of known as like this legendary, perhaps, like dark academia book. So I'm hearing all of these notes and the comparisons. I'm thinking, okay, I'm about to get into another Babel by R.F. Kuang. And that was not as, well, it might be as long as this book. But that was so dense that even if I had finished a chapter and I was like, that was a really good chapter, I would still have to stop reading because there was just too much going on. So, my waffles are done. Okay, let's hurry up. I have a note about my thoughts on the book so far that I made. So, yeah, I was explaining that I was a little apprehensive going into this. As a matter of fact, the first time it came through on Libby, I said, I'm not ready for that yet, because I just thought that it was going to be really difficult to read. Not in a way that the book was bad, but just in a way that I was expecting it to be dense. That's my microwave. And anyway, I was expecting it to be dense because of the subject matter that's in it, like the Greek. And I will say that in those scenes, like academic focus scenes, it is pretty dense. But outside of those scenes, it's good. It's so good. I'm checking my note. I don't want to miss anything. Outside of those scenes, Taft's writing and like her writing style is so easy to read. And I really, really, really am enjoying myself. Focusing now more on the book, I will say that I don't trust anything that the main character, Richard, what's his last name? It starts with a P. Richard Penn. I think that's it. I don't trust anything this man says, because in the book, he's been like, I lie. I lie for fun. I just do it. And who's going to catch me? And yeah. So I don't trust anything he says. I think he's lying a lot. And yeah, some of the other main characters are also weird. I don't know if anybody else does this, but when I read Bunny's character, I read it like Leonardo DiCaprio's Great Gatsby. When he's calling Nick old sport, that's the exact cadence and accent that I'm using to read the character of Bunny in my head. I don't know if that's just me, but I read it like that. Bunny is also an interesting one to me because in a way he seems like the dumbest one in the group. I don't know. Not in a way that they aren't all smart. He just is like the classic varsity jock type, at least in my head. Like that's his archetype. But yeah, anyway, I'm loving this book right now. I want to read more of it and faster because there's other books that I want to read this month. But that's my review of that so far. I'm going to eat breakfast and then continue this once I'm done. And I'm going to read during breakfast. So maybe afterwards I'll be more than 11% of the way done with the book. The topic that kind of came to mind is a good first one for me. It's just the question of why do I read books? because I don't have to. So why do I read the books? While I was thinking about this question and brainstorming some reasons to talk about, I realized that I can kind of separate at least my own reasons into two separate categories that can kind of be called like my earlier, like more foundational years. So when you first learn to read and then like through grade school, and then just some overall reasons that keep me going in general. So let's talk about those early/foundational years. I have it all written down. Ding. So, these earlier foundational years, I feel like one of the most dominant or like important reasons for me and many other people who read nowadays is that this was our academic talent. Okay, when we got to kindergarten, somebody sat us down. They would do these reading tests and you'd get taken out of your class and sat down at this table and you'd read the thing. And then one day someone's telling you in kindergarten, first, second grade that you read, at like a fifth grade level. And you're like, oh, so I'm smart. So that's what happened to me. This was my academic talent. I was good at other subjects, but when it came to the reading and the writing, I was just ahead. It's just something I could do. It made sense to me in the same way that like math can make sense to some people. And for those people, I envy you. I only like math when I'm good at math. I feel super smart when I'm good at math and I have my little operation down. Yeah, I feel super smart and I love it then. But other than that, no, do not like math. So that was, in my mind, my first reason why I read. It was my academic talent. It was this thing that I was good at. And my second reason why I think I like reading is because it's the perfect companion hobby to writing. And I love to write. I want to write and publish a book one day. It's when I was in, again, grade school, elementary school, I had, and honestly, it might still be here somewhere. I just don't know where. I had this red binder and it was a one subject. So inside this one subject red binder was a bunch of notebook paper. And on that notebook paper, I would handwrite books. And I would carry this binder around with me and I would do it at recess. I had a teacher take it away from me because she said, Camille, I need you to like go and play and interact with the other children. And I was like, but I'm writing a book, so I'm gonna need that back. But yeah, I carried around my little red binder and I wrote things on it and I wrote my books in it. And when we got assigned like your first essays in grade school are like 4-paragraph essays. You need an introduction, your first paragraph, your second paragraph, and your conclusion. My first essays, most people's were like a page. I was clocking 2-3 pages on those first handwritten essays. When you would turn them in handwritten, you'd have the rough draft, and then you'd have a prettier final draft that was like perfectly handwritten. I wish I had kept those because it's not even the thing anymore. Like you type everything and my handwriting would be pristine on my final drafts. So good. So yes, that was my second reason. It's a perfect companion hobby to writing. And my third reason that I kind of put into this foundational early years category is that I have an older sister, and my older sister also loved to read. She is, I guess you would say she is like a significant chunk older than me because when I was still young, she was in the age group to read Twilight. So those are the books that I remember her reading and being obsessed with. She loved Twilight. And that's also how I read Twilight. I stole the Twilight books out of her room and I read them. Sis. But yeah, I had an older sister who read. So honestly, she was kind of the only person in my immediate family, so the family that I live with, that regularly read fiction. So I do think a lot of it came from her as well, and just seeing her do that. And also, back in the early 2000s, when you're in the car and you're going somewhere for a long time, babe, your option is to sit there, stare out the window and like count the clouds in the sky, pick 2 raindrops and see which one can make it down the windowsill the fastest. Or if you were like me, you could stash a couple of books in like the seat back pocket in the car and you could read those. The 2 that I remember were The Tale of Emily Winsnap That one was in my grandmother's car. And then I had like a Barbie and the Magic Pegasus book that was in the backseat of a different car. So yeah, I saw my older sister reading, and when you're driving for long distance as a child means like anything longer than 5 minutes. But yeah, those would always be in the seat back pockets, and I would grab those and I would read those. So to me, those are like my foundational reasons. Now we transition into my overall reasons for reading. Like number one that I feel like a lot of people can relate to is, on one hand, you have escapism. And then on the other hand, you have the ability to experience stories or hear perspectives that you experience that you just will never experience, period. So for me, let me think. I'm staring at my books. I have my books there's no shelf. They're on the floor in stacks, are over here. So I'm looking at them, trying to think. I feel like a book over there for me that's escapism is Everything, Everything by Nicola Yoon. I love that book. Everything for me is, yes, I know that kind of like the premise of it is a little bit like not escapist, but like the romance and the sweetness of it, and the fact that two 16-year-old somethings will be able to go to Hawaii like that. It's everything, truly. And then looking over there, thinking about something that's kind of like new perspective. I read Salvage the Bones in high school, so that book's not over there, but that was definitely something so far away from my landscape of being that it definitely new perspective, something I'd never be able to think of happening to myself. And then also Pachinko. I have that book over there, that long generational story by Min-Jin Lee that covers this family from Korea while it was occupied to Japan into modern days. That's definitely new perspectives, something that I 100% cannot experience for myself. Still amazing book, and I love reading it so much, even though it's not something that I think on the surface level I would really enjoy. And then I feel like you have books that are like a good balance of both. I feel like Babel is a great example of this. Babel by R.F. Kuang. Magic system based on languages, first of all, that's insane, and I love it. But then the very real story and historical context that it's in with colonialism, specifically as it relates to England, and kind of how these young adults were shaped as children to take this place in this system by people who don't particularly have their best interests at heart, and kind of using their rare native languages. Victoria, who is my favorite character in that book, she speaks, if I remember correctly, she speaks Creole or something along those lines, and she speaks French. And then our other main character, Robin, who speaks either Mandarin or Cantonese or both. He might speak both. And then they all know like Latin and Greek. So just seeing how kind of their native talents are used to help people who are oppressing the people. It's just, that's, again, a good balance between escapism and new stories and perspectives. My second reason I feel like is, don't you know, when you finish a good book, I'm going to go back to Everything, Everything, because guys, I love that book. When I finished that book at however old I was, it was when you finish a good book, it's just like this feeling of euphoria that comes over you. And you have to find another book that makes you feel like that. Otherwise, you failed as a person in this life. So why do I keep reading? Because I need books that give me that feeling. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I won't say nothing will ever compare to when I finished reading Everything. There was this other book series that I read in high school. It was like our summer reading, and I really enjoyed it. It was this trilogy called, I just know the first book is yellow, and then there's like a blue one and a red one in there. When I only had to read the first one for like my high school summer reading. I finished the whole series in a summer. Oh my God, that was so good. I don't know if it will still hold up, but I do remember looking back on that and just being like, I need to read the next book immediately. I know that there are more. Chasing that feeling of finding an amazing book, it's like nothing compares. My third reason for my overall reason, especially nowadays when you have so many different forms of media that you can enjoy and consume. Like me, I listen to a lot of music. I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I read books. I'd say those are like my top 3 things. I don't watch a lot of TV. It's fall right now, so I love football. I watch football Thursday to Monday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. If there's a game on, I will turn on. I will watch. Season 21 of Project Runway just ended. I watched that. I wish I had kept up with my childhood dream of wanting to be a fashion designer, but here we are. I will not lie, guys. I do indulge in watching Love is Blind, because that is like a car crash that you can't look away from. And then I'm watching a K-drama right now called Love Next Door. I think that's what that one is called. But I will backtrack and say that my favorite K-dramas, Bloodhounds, Business Proposal, oh my gosh, The King Eternal Monarch. Okay, I'm done now. But why are books my favorite form of media? One of my favorite forms of media? It's because you can kind of take like these slight creative liberties in text media that you can't take in visual media, that I enjoy doing. Like, I don't know if you've seen this little, I don't know, is it a meme? I don't know, going around where people like quote something from a book and it'll be like, he had brunette hair that was buzz cut and blah, blah, blah. And people are like, no thanks. He had long flowing brown hair down to his shoulders. But like, I feel like that's kind of a fun thing that you can do while reading. And for me, when I read books, unless like you can't switch out the character because of like something like the culture that it's set in or the time that it's set in, I'll put myself in the book. That's fine. That's so fine. When I read everything, girl, I'm the main character. All descriptions irrelevant. It's me. When I read The Devil Wears Prada, I'm not the main character. I am, however, Miranda Priestly. But like, to me, that's fun. I'm just kidding. When I read The Devil Wears Prada, I see Emily Blunt, Anne Hathaway, and Meryl Streep. My 4th reason, which is really simple, it's just variety. There are so many books. So again, I'm staring at my books right now. I'm sorry, I'll look this way. There are so many books where it's like, if you can think of it, there's a very high probability that there's a book about it. A well-written book, that's up for debate. But a book, there will be a book. So, yeah, I mean, just looking at my pile over here, I've got thrillers and like modern fantasy and romance. If you can think about it, there's a book for it. I'll go back to Babel. That's so specific, but like speaks to my deep inner language nerd self. Like, I love that. It's way smart. That book is way smarter than me. But those are my reasons as to why I love reading. And that is the end of my first entry.